Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. He caught my car door with his hand before it could close. I am Mia, 25, and I really thought the night was over. We had already hugged and joked about work and traffic earlier. I just wanted to drive home and let my brain switch off. Wait, his fingers tightened on the top of the door. Can you stay a minute? I need to tell you something for real. That word hit different, and I felt my chest pull tight instantly. If I had left right there, everything afterward would look very different. The parking lot felt empty in that heavy way, just us and our breath. He stepped between me and the car like he guarded the exit. I tried to half smile because I really thought it was drama about work. Text me tomorrow, I am wiped tonight, please. I already knew he would push. No, now, his jaw worked like he chewed on the words. He kept looking at my face, then away, then back again. That back and forth made my stomach flip harder than any fight with Jake. I remember thinking, whatever this is, it will not be small. I leaned on the edge of the door and crossed my arms, stupid shield move. Okay, fine, talk. My voice came out sharper than I planned. He laughed once, short and wrong, and it died before it finished. That was the first real warning that I missed completely in that moment. Are you happy with him? He stared at my shoes when he asked. No joke, no smile, just those 5 words dropped between us. I rolled my eyes because that felt safer than actually checking in. Why are you asking like a therapist right now? I tried to keep it light. He stepped closer and the car frame pressed into my back. I am not playing tonight, just answer honestly for once. The for once stung because I knew he had a point there. When someone who knows you too well says that, it lands like a punch. I shrugged and looked toward the street like I had somewhere better. I am fine, we are fine, we argue but nothing insane. Even while I said it, my voice wobbled on the word fine. That crack is so obvious to me now, but then I rushed past it. He exhaled hard and ran a hand through his hair, cliché move. Then his eyes locked back on mine and finally stayed there. I cannot watch you do this anymore, I need to be honest now. My chest went hot because I felt a line about to get crossed. I am in love with you, the words came out slow and clean. For a second I honestly thought I heard him wrong on purpose. My brain tried to rearrange them into some dumb joke he might make. Nothing moved though, not his face, not his hands, not his voice. I laughed anyway, automatic defense like a glitchy reaction. You are ridiculous, you almost got me for a second there. He did not laugh, not even a hint, and my throat went dry. That silence did more damage than any insult he could throw. I am serious, his fingers tapped the top of the car door. I have been in love with you for a long time already. The way he stressed that last part made my heart slam my ribs. This was not a crushed confession, this sounded like a whole hidden life. I remember blinking slowly, like that would reboot the moment somehow. You picked tonight for this, after burgers and stupid bar trivia. It sounded petty, but I needed the night to stay normal. If the night stayed normal, then I did not have to change anything. He shook his head once, almost annoyed that I still dodged. Tonight, because I cannot stand watching you shrink around him anymore. That word shrink dug into a part of me I worked hard to ignore. It was like he yanked a curtain I had nailed shut in my own head. I opened my mouth to argue, to defend Jake out of pure habit. Nothing came out, just air and this weird broken sound halfway to a laugh. Ryan watched that and his expression softened for the first time all evening. See, even you cannot sell it anymore and you are great at pretending. My first instinct was to walk around him and just leave. My hand even reached for the door handle like muscle memory took over. He moved with me though, blocking the gap, eyes steady on mine. If you walk away now, you know exactly what you are choosing. That line hooked something ugly in my chest because he was right. If I drove off, I was not neutral, I was picking my side. Choosing what exactly? My voice dropped lower without me trying. I needed him to say it out loud so I could hate it. He swallowed hard and the movement looked almost painful in the dim light. You are choosing him and the way he talks down to you. You are choosing every night he uses you as a punchline. You are choosing someone who does not even see you the way I do. My face burned because those examples were not random, they were real. He had seen way too many of our fights, more than I want to admit. For a moment, I hated myself more than I was angry at him. I hated how quickly my brain pulled up proof for every word he threw. You do not get to say that about my relationship. Manage that at least. It came out thin though, not bold, and we both heard it. He gave this tiny bitter smile like he had expected that exact defense. That is the thing, it stopped looking like a relationship a while ago. The worst part is that some twisted part of me felt relief. Someone finally speaking the thought I kept stuffing back down inside. That relief made me furious at him and at myself at the same time. People think the villain is obvious, but in moments like this everyone blurs. He took one more step, close enough that I had to tilt my head. I want you with me instead, and I am done hiding it now. My heart sped up for reasons that were not all fear, which scared me more. I knew that if I let that feeling grow, nothing would stay the same. Then he dropped the last piece like he ripped off a bandage. Leave Jake, his voice did not crack, not even once on the words. Break up with him and be with me instead, for real. That was the moment the night split in two and I never got it back. I jerked the steering wheel as I pulled away from him. My foot pressed too hard on the gas and the car jumped forward. In the mirror he stood in that same spot, smaller with every second. I knew if I stopped again I would not leave at all. My palms slipped on the wheel and I wiped them on my jeans. I could still hear his voice in my ear like he sat beside me. Leave him and be with me instead kept looping in my head. I turned the radio on just to drown it out for a second. Some random song blasted in and fought with my thoughts for space. My eyes flicked between the road and my phone lighting up in the cup holder. A text banner popped up from him and then another right after. I forced myself to stare straight ahead because if I read them I knew I would turn around. At the first red light my hand moved on its own toward the phone. I grabbed it like it burned and unlocked the screen with my thumb. 3 messages waited from him stacked on top of each other. My chest tightened before I even opened the first one. The first line read "You okay?" and it almost sounded casual. The next one came right under it asking if I was driving home already. The last one said I meant it and my stomach lurched. I locked the phone without answering and the light changed while a car honked behind me. Looking back, that was my first chance to draw a boundary and I dodged it. In that moment though, all I wanted was quiet and the old routine. If I texted him back I knew the conversation would keep exploding in my hands. So I rolled through the crossing pretending I could leave the words in that empty space behind me. Every time I reached the next block, another version of the same thought crashed in. If I told my boyfriend what just happened, it would blow everything open. If I stayed quiet, I would be the only one carrying his secret around. Both options felt awful, and somehow I was already guilty either way. His line about choosing replayed hardest while I took the turn onto my street. In his version of this story, walking away from him meant betraying myself. In my head, staying faithful still mattered even if the relationship felt off. I gripped the wheel tighter and every small bump in the road felt personal. Halfway home my vision blurred for a second and I had to blink hard. For one ridiculous moment I considered pulling over and crying into my hands. Then another notification buzzed and snapped me out of that almost meltdown. I did not need a breakdown on the side of the road to complete the drama. Another banner slid across the screen with his name and a longer preview line. It read, "Please do not go back there," like nothing happened. A second banner followed with, "You deserve better than that and he knows it." Hearing that from someone who clearly wanted me for himself twisted the compliment. Now that I write this, I see how cornered that move really was. Back then I called it concern and told myself I was lucky he cared so much. That little rebrand in my head gave me permission to ignore the pressure underneath. It is wild how fast you can rename control as love when it benefits you. When my building finally came into view, my throat tightened all over again. Upstairs he would be on the couch or in bed, assuming the night was boring. He had no idea another person just asked me to blow up our life. I parked slower that time, but my hands still trembled on the gear shift. I cut the engine and the sudden silence made my ears ring. My phone lit up one more time with his name across the top. This one only said, "I am here if you want to talk more." The if in that sentence felt fake because in reality he already forced the issue. I hovered over the screen and actually typed, "I need to think for a while." Then I watched the words sit there in the bubble waiting to be sent. Deleting that text took more effort than writing it in the first place. I shoved the phone into my bag like that would keep the whole situation inside it. On the walk up the stairs, I practiced different versions of the story in my head. In one version, I told him everything and we both laughed it off as ridiculous. In another, I called it a misunderstanding and promised myself to keep some distance. In none of the drafts did I actually admit I was tempted by the offer. At the apartment door, I paused with the key halfway in the lock. If I walked in acting normal tonight, the secret would harden inside me. If I walked in and told the truth, I might watch my whole life split open. I turned the key anyway and stepped through, already lying with my first hello. I dropped my bag by the door harder than I meant to. He glanced over from the couch with a quick half smile. "You are late." His fingers tapped the controller without pausing the game. I forced my voice steady. "Yeah, trivia ran long." The lie sat between us. He studied my face for a second, then focused back on the screen. "You grabbed food on the way, or are you starving again?" I walked behind the couch so he would not see my expression twist. "Not hungry, I had nachos there." The word there felt too sharp in my mouth. My phone vibrated inside the bag right by the door. One long buzz, then a shorter one that followed right after. The timing hit me harder than anything he was doing on screen. I knew exactly who it was before I checked. Another vibration rolled through the room while I stood frozen. He tilted his head toward the sound but did not look back. "You should grab that, could be important." His tone stayed casual but clipped. My pulse kicked up anyway. Important meant Ryan tonight. I walked to the bag and dragged it toward the bedroom with my foot. "Just work stuff, I will answer in a second." That excuse came out fast. He grunted something that might have been okay and raised his voice at the game. The noise from the screen gave me cover while I escaped down the hall. In the bedroom, I shut the door most of the way, not fully. That tiny gap made me feel less guilty, which is dumb now. I dug my phone out and the lock screen filled with his name. 4 messages stacked in a row waited for me. The previews were short and blunt across the top of the screen. "You home yet? Please tell me you got back safe." I opened our thread and another bubble appeared while I watched. "If you ignore me, I will assume you went straight to him." Annoyance flared sharp and quick right under the anxiety. He knew exactly where I was going when I left the lot. Acting shocked about it now felt like some weird test. Still, I tapped out "I am home" before I could talk myself out of it. His reply hit almost immediately. The typing dots barely lasted. "Can you talk, or is he right there with you?" I stared at that line too long, hearing the ownership baked inside it. Instead of answering, I wrote "just got in" and sent it. Another pause, then a longer bubble arrived with a small image underneath. "I need you to see something, and I do not want to text this." The photo came through a second later and filled half my screen. My thumb hovered over it while my mouth went dry. When I tapped it open, my first reaction was confusion, not rage. The shot showed an outdoor bar crowded with people in the background. Front and center stood my boyfriend leaning close to some girl. His head tilted down toward her and her hand rested on his chest. My whole body went cold, not dramatic movie cold, more numb. I zoomed in automatically and the picture blurred then sharpened again. His mouth was right by her ear, like he whispered something to her. She smiled, not huge, but enough to twist my stomach up. The message under the photo landed right after I zoomed. "This was last week, he did not see me." My thumb pressed the screen so hard it hurt while I read. That date lined up with a night he had brushed off as nothing special. Another message slid in, spaced a little lower on the thread. "He was like this with her the whole time I watched. You were at home that night arguing with him over those dumb jokes." Seeing that written out made me want to slam the phone into the wall. Out in the living room, he laughed at something on the screen. The sound drifted down the hall and bumped against the image in my hand. For a second, I pictured the girl in the picture sitting where I usually sat. The idea made my chest feel too tight in a way I did not want to name. I typed back, "Why are you sending this now?" and erased it. Then I tried, "What do you want me to do with this?" Deleted that too because it sounded weak even to me. I settled on "where exactly was this?" and hit send. Ryan answered with the location and another line that shifted everything. "I was going to tell you that night, but you sounded wrecked already. Tonight finally pushed me over, so there it is. You can keep defending him or you can look at what he actually does." A sharp knock sounded on the bedroom door before I could respond. "You hiding in there?" His voice carried a joking edge that made my skin crawl. I locked my screen so fast my hand jerked. Changing clothes 1 minute, my voice landed higher than usual. The handle rattled once then quieted. You are jumpy tonight, I heard him walk away back toward the couch. He had no clue his face was frozen inches from another woman on my phone. My hands shook so hard I had to set the device down on the dresser. When I replay that moment now, I see the fork in the road. I could have opened the door right then and shoved the image in his hand. I could have deleted it and pretended my trust had never been touched. Instead, I picked up the phone again and zoomed in one more time. His arm curved around the woman's waist in the picture, casual and close. The look on his face was relaxed in a way I had not seen recently. He did not look drunk or forced or annoyed, he looked comfortable. That tiny detail cut deeper than the hand on his chest. My reply to Ryan turned rougher than I planned. You took this and held on to it without saying anything. Dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again like he argued with himself. I was waiting for the right moment, and tonight showed me you needed it. That line made my stomach twist in another new direction. This was not just about my boyfriend messing up in some bar. It was also about Ryan building a case and choosing when to drop it. Realizing that made me feel played and protected at the same time. I tucked the phone into my waistband, screen down against my hip. When I opened the bedroom door, the hall lights felt too bright and harsh. He glanced over the back of the couch with a quick smile. You good now? He looked relaxed, exactly like in the photo. Yeah, just changed. I walked around and dropped onto the other cushion. My eyes traveled over his profile, hunting for some hint of guilt. He checked the scoreboard and swore under his breath at the game. The normalcy in the room clashed with the picture seared into my brain. Another vibration buzzed against my skin and I jumped a little. I shifted to hide the movement, pretending to adjust my waistband. If I pulled the phone out, he would ask who kept messaging me. For the first time in a while, I did not know whose name would hurt more. I pushed my phone across the coffee table so it stopped in front of him. Who is she? My voice came out flat and way too calm. He glanced at the screen, then up at me with a quick frown. For the first time that night, the game stayed paused. He picked up the phone with 2 fingers like it might be sticky. His eyes narrowed at the picture, moving over every line of it. Where did you get this? His jaw shifted from side to side. Hearing that question instead of an answer hit harder than the image. You tell me first. I leaned back so I would not grab it away. He scratched his cheek once, then blew out air through his nose. That is some bar downtown last week after work. Each pause between those pieces made the room feel smaller. I pointed at the girl in the photo without touching the screen. And her, what is her role in your little story? He raised his shoulders and dropped them again, acting annoyed. She is a friend of a friend, we were shouting over the music. That excuse should have made sense, but my chest still hummed. If you were yelling in her ear, where was your right hand going? His gaze snapped back to the image like he had missed that detail. He zoomed in once and then actually flinched. That looks bad, he rubbed his forehead with his palm. Why would Ryan send this without context? His mouth tightened on the name. The way he said it told me he already knew the source. So the part about how I got the picture was not a mystery at all. So you admit that is your arm around her? I kept my tone steady. He stared at me instead of the screen, eyes getting sharper. Do you seriously think I hooked up with her right there? The defensive edge in his voice made me feel both guilty and justified. You tell me what happened after this frame. I tapped the table. He dragged his hand down his face like he wanted to wipe the night away. We stood around, we drank, everyone yelled over the speakers. There were 5 of us there, not some secret date. That number hit me sideways because the picture showed only 2 bodies. If there were 5 people, why do I only see you and her? His mouth opened then shut like he realized something mid-thought. Because your friend Cherry picked the angle that screwed me the most. The phrase your friend did not go unnoticed. So you remember him being there? My fingers dug into my knees. Barely. He was hovering. I figured he went home early. He clicked the phone off and set it down like it burned his hand. Why did you not tell me you went out that night? My voice dropped. He looked at me like I had asked why the sky existed. Because we had just fought about those jokes and you were already upset. I did not want to add more fuel to whatever that was. Hearing him describe our argument like some distant cloud stung. You know what looks worse than going out and telling me? I nodded toward the phone between us, face down on the wood. This, me finding out through somebody who is not even in this relationship. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands laced together tight. That is the point, he wants you doubting me, not him. The more he talked, the more a different pattern started to form. Do you really think he sent that because he cares about us? I swallowed hard because I knew what he was circling. You mean because he has a crush or something? The word felt small. He laughed once, harsh with no humor in it. Not a crush, he is obsessed, he watches us like it is his job. There it was, out loud, the thing I had been avoiding naming. Why do you say that? I kept my eyes on his hands. He stares every time we argue like he is taking notes. He texts you constantly, he obviously wants me gone. My face warmed because some of that was not wrong. Still, hearing it from him made me want to defend the friendship. He is my friend, of course he checks in when we fight. Even as I said it, the words felt just as thin as his excuses. He pushed himself back against the couch and stared at the ceiling. If he cared about you, he would talk to you, not attack me behind my back. Sending that picture alone is dirty as hell. His foot started bouncing. He knows exactly what that would do to you. And yeah, that part was true. Ryan knew me well enough to aim right for my weak spots. He knew trust was already wobbling, so he rattled it on purpose. Admitting that to myself made something inside me go quiet. I am not saying you are perfect in this, his voice dropped softer. But I did not cheat on you, I did not touch that girl like that. He pointed at the phone again, stronger this time. You can ask anyone who was there, including him. That challenge hung in the air like a dare. If I checked with Ryan, I would be stepping deeper into his side. If I did not, I was choosing to believe the person in the picture. Either way, I would be aligning with one man against the other. I need water, it was a weak exit, but I took it. I grabbed my phone and walked to the kitchen without looking back. My hand shook over the screen as I unlocked it again. Once more his chat sat at the top like it belonged there. I typed "he says you were there that night" and hit send. For a moment nothing moved, then the typing dots flared up. Wow, look at him, suddenly remembering I existed showed on my screen. Then another bubble appeared right under it before I could respond. Of course I was there, that is how I got the shot. He never noticed me, he was too busy with her. I gripped the counter edge with my free hand until my knuckles hurt. Two people, same night, completely different versions. Another message arrived longer, pushing the others upward. I did not send you the worst one at first. Then a new photo downloaded, same bar, slightly wider frame. When it opened, I felt my breath catch. In this version, another guy stood close on the other side of the girl. He leaned in too, laughing, his shoulder almost blocking part of my boyfriend. The angle made everything look more crowded, less intimate. Still, my boyfriend's palm stayed planted on her waist like a claim. Why did you crop this? I fired that back without thinking. He answered almost instantly, no time gap at all. Because that extra dude does not change what your boyfriend is doing. People always use crowded rooms as cover when they flirt. The certainty in his text pressed down on my already buzzing brain. I zoomed in on both images, flipping between them with my thumb. In the first, it looked like a quiet moment with just two bodies. In the second, it could be passed off as group chaos if you wanted that story. Another bubble popped up while I still studied the comparison. Do not let him spin this as some group joke. I watched him keep his hand there almost the entire time. He knew exactly what he was doing. You done hiding in there? His voice carried from the living room. The call snapped me out of my stare and I locked my phone. Yeah, just grabbing water. I turned on the tap to make it sound real. My heart raced faster than any argument we had ever had. When I walked back, he glanced at me, eyes skimming my face. Everything all right? His leg had stopped bouncing, but his shoulders stayed tight. I sat down with my glass, careful not to pull out the phone again. If I showed the new angle, I would have to admit who I trusted more. He studied me for another beat, then nodded like he made a choice. Look, if you want to call him, do it. His voice came out tired. But remember, he has every reason to paint me as the villain here. The word villain stuck because some part of me agreed. And disagreed at once. My screen buzzed against my thigh with another message from the kitchen thread. I did not move, just stared at the muted game blinking on the television. Two men were both claiming to protect me while tearing at each other. I sat between them holding a cropped picture, wondering who actually wanted me scared the most. 3 days later, my phone lit up before sunrise. A new message from him sat alone on the screen. He wrote, "I am done texting clues, meet me today." Half awake, I just answered where and hit send. I already knew I would show up even if I lied to myself. We picked a coffee place near my work that opened early. When I walked in, he was already there with 2 cups. He pushed one toward me like we were meeting about spreadsheets. I stayed standing until I could breathe without my chest shaking. He pulled out his phone and opened a long chat thread. "I got more proof and you need to see it." His voice came out hoarse like he had rehearsed this alone. He tapped the screen and angled it so I could read. At the top sat my boyfriend's name and a contact picture. Below it, a conversation with his ex scrolled in neat bubbles. The first message from him read, "You looked incredible tonight, by the way." Her reply popped up under it saying, "Missed you at that party." Then he wrote, "She has felt far away recently, I needed some fun." Reading that line made my teeth press together until my jaw hurt. I asked him where this came from before I threw up. He ran a hand over his face and looked almost guilty. Last month, he left his phone on the bar during a game. I saw her name pop up and he walked away to smoke. I opened it and snapped photos before he came back and laughing. Even now retelling this, I know that move was not clean. In that booth, though, my anger grabbed the closest target available. "You went through his phone," my voice came out sharper than planned. He spread his hands on the table like he was surrendering. "If you want to hate me for that, go ahead, he deserves worse." I looked back down at the chat that kept climbing lower. Farther down, he wrote, "You free Friday, we should catch up properly." She sent a smile emoji and said, "Only if you're buying drinks." Then he answered, "I owe you anyway after how we ended." In that moment, the picture from the bar felt almost boring. He watched my face like he was tracking every twitch and swallow. I could not blame this on angles or loud music anymore. There were no distractions here, just words he typed with full control. I wish I could say I stood up immediately and walked out. Instead, I sat silent long enough for the ice in my drink to melt. He finally broke the pause with a question that hit straight through. "So what now? Are you still thinking about protecting him over yourself?" I do not know what protecting myself looks like right now. You could leave him and walk out of here with me. That is the part that made my stomach knot in a different way. This is not some prize you win because he sucks. He flinched a little but did not look away from me. "I am not asking to cash in a trophy, I want you safe." There was that word again, safe, twisted into something that still felt like pressure. In that booth, I realized both men were using danger as currency. I texted Jake from the bathroom wall 10 minutes later. "Need to talk today at the coffee place, please." He answered with a quick "Sure, what is going on?" I stared at the word "sure" until my eyes burned. Looking back, that one small message carried more denial than any speech. He arrived 20 minutes later and spotted us in the corner booth. His eyes bounced from my face to Ryan, then back again fast. "This what we are doing now, group meetings about my relationship." I stood up before he reached the table and blocked his path. "We are talking outside first, then I will come back here." Out on the sidewalk, he crossed his arms and waited tight-lipped. "What is with the interrogation vibe? You're freaking me out." I handed him my phone with the chat pulled full screen. He read every line slower than necessary, like delay would change it. With each message, his eyebrows climbed higher until he finally looked up. "So you broke into my phone through some jealous third party. This is insane, you know that, right? You are really going with privacy violation," then shrug at the content. "We talked that night and nothing physical happened, I swear." I stared at his mouth moving and heard only that text, "I needed fun." "I am done," 2 words dropped out of me before I planned them. Done like what exactly? You are throwing everything out over screenshots. There it was again, everything like the past was a single object. "I showed you who you are when I am not around and you smiled." It was stupid texting, I wanted attention, that is all. I felt weirdly calm while he scrambled to stack minor excuses. "If you only wanted a little ego boost, why hide it from me?" "Because you would react like this and guess what I was right." That last part came out almost smug and killed any remaining softness. I realized I could not fix a person who celebrated predicting my hurt. "I am not walking back inside as your girlfriend after reading this." So that is it, you decided before I even arrived. Honestly, yes, because you already decided to line up a backup option. You do not get to call me dramatic while treating me as a placeholder. He shook his head once, then turned and walked to his car. He did not look back, and I did not call after him. At the time, that silence felt like the only part I controlled. My hands started shaking only when I grabbed the door handle again. Inside the shop, Ryan watched me through the window like a lookout. For a second, I hated both of them equally, standing there with my heart between them. When I stepped back and he rose halfway, then froze at my face. "It is done," my voice sounded scraped out but steady enough. He reached for my hand across the table like it belonged there. I pulled back before his fingers closed because that future scared me more. "If I jump from one wreck straight into your arms, nothing changes. You do not have to jump, you can just lean on me." I let out this short, ugly laugh because that sounded nice and dangerous. "You flanked me with a confession and kept evidence on him ready. Tell me honestly, was this about protecting me or about winning?" His mouth opened then closed, and that pause told me more than anything. "I am not choosing either of you right now." Saying that out loud felt like stepping off something high. "You want to be in my life, you back off for a while. If you cannot do that, then this was never about me at all." His shoulders sagged and he stared at the table instead of me. "Fine, but do not expect me to just turn my feelings off like a switch." I walked out before he could stand up or say anything else. Outside, the air hit my face and I realized I was finally alone. Not single and waiting, not pre-engaged with my best friend, just alone. I muted both of their threads on my phone before crossing the street. Even now, when my screen lights up, I still check the angle first, like somebody might ambush me again from the corner.